Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are doing a comparison between the DNT Optics Zulus HD V2 3-to-12 power that DNT Optics was nice enough to send me out for review, and we're comparing it to the ATN X-Sight 4K. I think this is the Pro. It doesn't say Pro on the side, but I believe it does on the box. This is the 5-to-20 model. DNT does offer a 5-to-20 version of the Zulus as well, but I specifically wanted the lower power. Because there is a magnification difference, I'm going to try to make everything as fair as possible between the two today. And because of that, we're going to start out comparing the optics on 3 times their native magnification. So for the Zulus, the native magnification is 3 power, so we're going to go to 9 power. And the native magnification on the ATN X-Sight is 5 power, so we're going to go to 15. It won't sit right on 15, it's 15.5, so it should actually be at a slight disadvantage in that way. That will be for looking at the daytime image quality, which is the first thing we're going to do today. But before we get into that, let me just give a quick overview of the optics and my experience with them so far. The DNT Optics Zulus comes in around $800, has a built-in laser rangefinder and IR illuminator. You can see those are both on the side here. And the overall weight of the optic with all that on it is 18.4 ounces. You can see it does get a little shorter here if I twist off the eye cup. That is very short, 8 inches or so long. It has a claimed eye relief, I believe, of 60 millimeters. And it comes with a mount that gets the optic pushed back this way a ways. I'll get that out of the way for just a second so that you can see the ATN sitting behind it here. The ATN 4K Pro is an older model sold by ATN, though they still do offer it. Their newest, highest end IR day-night scope is the X-Sight 5. I did reach out to ATN and request one of those for review. They never got back to me, but that's okay. We're going to review this one as it sits here. This version does not have a laser rangefinder on it, but it does have an included IR illuminator that attaches to the side right here. Without the illuminator attached, this scope weighs 35 ounces. So you can see we're getting close to double the weight of the DNT. They do offer models with the rangefinder as well. For this particular scope, the rangefinder goes out front, and it's a fairly chunky module. I don't have personal experience on that, so I won't make any comment on it. The newer ATN X-Sight has an option for a laser rangefinder that comes off the side, kind of back here. They both have 1080p video recording. They both have easily adjustable zoom. They both have recoil activated video, advertised 1-shot 0, really good battery life. Plenty. The DNT says 10 hours on one battery, and the ATN is something like 18, I think, on the built-in internal rechargeable battery. And that's way plenty. The DNT does come with a second battery that you can swap out, and that is a fairly quick and easy process. And for the ATN, you can attach an external battery pack onto the rifle somewhere and use that as well. You can on the DNT as well, though I don't know why you would need to, because you can just swap the batteries out. They both have adjustable eyepieces, and they both have focus set towards the front of the scope. Video storage on the DNT is internal, and you get to it with a USB-C. Storage on the ATN X-Sight is via an SD card under a waterproof cover on the side. And yeah, I think that's about it for introduction. I am going to be recording with both of these for as much of the time as I can. So if you see video up in this corner, that's the DNT Zulus, and video in this corner over here is going to be the ATN X-Sight. Should be recording with both of those now. If one of them's over my face, that's okay. You don't need to see it anyway. I've done videos on day and night testing on the DNT Zulus already, check those out on the channel. Those were kind of my long drawn out testing videos. I will do a full review on at least the Zulus later on, but if you want to watch those testing videos, go ahead. I just mounted the ATN X-Sight again on my 6.5 Grendel AR. So we're going to get that zeroed in a second, and the main thing I want to test there is the zeroing. It's been so long since I've shot this, I don't remember what the zeroing process was like. In my daytime video of the Zulus, we zeroed it on that video and I had some issues, so I want to directly compare that. Before we do that though, let's talk about image quality. Now, I don't know if this is going to come across exactly on the screen for you as it does looking through the scope for me, but there is a drastic difference in image quality. So we are looking right now at the target that is at 104 yards, as confirmed by the Zulus there. And there's light all around and the target is shaded. So this is a little bit worst case scenario, but looking through the Zulus, you can see it fine. And looking through the X-Sight, you can see it much better. Now, there is a little more magnification on the X-Sight, but remember we're doing 3x native magnification on both of these. Just for a comparison of clarity, let's go to max magnification on both optics. There we are. On this test, the X-Sight absolutely blows the Zulus out of the water. There is no comparison on image quality there. I do have both of them focused in. Yep, got them both focused there on the target. And you can see just how much better the video on the X-Sight is. That is one thing I noticed right away when I picked up the Zulus. Now, this is daytime image quality. We'll look at these again at night and compare them then. All right, let's go ahead and get this AR zeroed. And I'm sure that the X-Sight is going to shut off recording when I go to zero it anyway, so I'm not going to be able to show you that on the screen. I'm just going to give you a succinct summary of what happens here. All right, not seeing the bullet hole with the Zulus, and I also can't see a bullet hole with the X-Sight. So far on usable daytime image quality, it's halfway a wash. One more thing I want to do just for fun. I've got two hedge balls downrange that are 145 yards away. We'll shoot one with each scope and just see what the video looks like. All right, I'm going to roll the video for both of these, aimed at a similar spot. All right, we're going to shoot through the AR first, and this will be with the X-Sight. We'll shoot the one on the right. I blew a little chunk off it there. All right, now we'll shoot the Howa. Kind of in an awkward position here. Hopefully I can actually hit it with everything lined up like it is. All right, so we've got both optics zeroed. We've checked out how they do in the daytime, at least at 100 yards here. We're gonna come back after sunset and compare the nighttime performance side by side. All right, guys, just a quick reminder, DNT Optics did send the Zulus V2 out for me to review, and because of that, I will have a link in the description where you can go and purchase this. If you are interested in the Zulus, please consider using my link down below. It'll let you know that I sent you over there. Also, please make sure you're subscribed to this channel. I've got a video coming out almost every week, though I may have a gap now and then, and I'd love for you to join along for the other stuff I've got going on the channel. All right, folks, time for the night portion, which is, I think, what most people are interested in. Just a quick thing right off the bat here. You can see that one of these scopes, both of these scopes in the daytime have a pretty identical outside color. They're black, but at night, one of them is fairly IR reflective. That's the DNT here. And the ATN X-Sight right here is not. It just looks black. And that probably doesn't matter to 95% of you, and to be honest, it doesn't matter to me. This is not for use really in tactical type applications. It wouldn't be that useful. But let's take a look downrange in the dark, and because these each have their own IR illuminators, I'm going to do them one at a time instead of doing them both at the same time. Otherwise, we would just be seeing the illuminator from the other one through the same scope. So first, I will start the video recording and turn on the IR illuminator for the ATN X-Sight. You can see the target down there and nothing of the hill behind it. All right, let's, I'm gonna stand up here so that the beam has a chance to go over it. Okay, still not seeing anything back behind the target. The illuminator on the X-Sight, you do have to aim, and it has been aimed. I aimed this when I was using it a long time ago, and you can see that it's in the picture. But it does have to be focused, just like any. So let me get steady here, and I will twist the focus through its whole range. Okay, we'll start here on the extreme one end and roll it back all the way. Okay, that's not helpful. There are it takes several cranks here on the scope IR illuminator eyepiece to get on there. Just for sake of testing, I'll turn the illuminator all the way up and stand up again to see if we see back there any better. No. There are two hedge apples back about 125 yards away, and I'll give you an exact range on them in a second, and I am not able to see them at all through the X-Sight with this illuminator. Now, ATN does sell other illuminators, different models for different purposes to go on the X-Sight. This is just the one that comes with it, and because it's got little Picatinny sections up on the front scope rail, I'm sure you could put on just about whatever illuminator you wanted right on the side of the scope, or you could mount it somewhere else on the gun. So that is the illuminator from the ATN. Tell you what, before I shut off the video recording for the ATN, I'm gonna aim the Zulus downrange. I'll start the video recording for the Zulus as well. So both of them should be up on the screen here now. And the illuminator being used is the one on the ATN X-Sight. And with the Zulus, I can clearly see that back hill. Whereas with the ATN, I can't see it even a little bit. Okay, maybe I can pick out a dot that is that hedge apple. But it could be a leaf, it could be anything through the ATN. Through the Zulus, I can pretty clearly tell where I set it there. Okay, now I'm gonna turn the illuminator on the X-Sight off. Okay, the illuminator for the X-Sight's off, and you can see the picture is completely blank with the X-Sight and pretty blank with the Zulus too. The conditions tonight are sky is mostly clear to maybe just a little bit cloudy. The moon is out, but actually it's in a section of the sky that's completely covered by clouds. So down there, especially on the range, it is very, very dark. All right, let's click the illuminator on the lowest setting for the Zulus, and I will run through its focus range as well for the illuminator. All right, and we are able to get it nice and bright downrange there. Oh, there's a rabbit. And interestingly, with the illuminator from the Zulus on, the ATN X-Sight has somewhat usable picture downrange there as well. But it is certainly not as defined as the image in the Zulus. Although in the Zulus, it looks much more grainy. Interesting. Okay, what I want to see is what it looks like through each of these firing a shot down range. Now, if you watch my last video with the Zulus, you saw kind of what it looked like through there, but I want to do them side by side, back to back. I'm going to do each of those tests with the illuminator that's on the optic for itself, and I'll have the other one pointed to the side. So we'll start with the ATN. I'm going to point the Zulus over this way, and yeah, you can see it's nice and dark downrange. We'll flip on the illuminator. I was going to take a shot at the hedge apple, but I think I'll just take a shot towards the center of that paper target. So this is an idea of what it looks like when firing through the X-Sight. I should mention both of these rifles are suppressed. We got total whiteout for a second there, and took a little bit to get our picture back. I'm going to do the same with the Zulus. We'll shoot at the hedge apple with this one, and I guess I'll go to 6x just to make it look about as close as it can. One thing I'll note is that on the X-Sight, the zoom it takes a lot more spinning to get where you want to go, but it's also, you can get finer adjustments. On the Zulus, you've got really fine control over the adjustment knob, but it doesn't matter because the steps are 1.5x. It jumps right from 4.5 to 6 and 7.5, and then there's a bunch of room of moving it in between where it just does nothing, which is interesting. It's not a problem necessarily. All right, let's see if I can hit that hedge apple down there. I'll just put one shot on it. Okay, you can see we definitely had some smoke that you could see through, but it didn't look like it completely obscured the image. Like it didn't look like it didn't look like the flash took as long to adjust for, if that makes sense. Let me do it again side by side, and this time I'll have both illuminators pointed downrange. Definitely be able to see a little bit better with the X-Sight now. All right, with the better illuminator pointed down there, I didn't notice it for the X-Sight as much. We'll do one more with the Zulus, again with both illuminators pointed downrange. There, I blew up that hedge apple. Yeah, okay, so about the same there. I don't know if that's an illuminator issue or what. I have mentioned that my worst complaint about the X-Sight was that when I took a shot at a hog that started moving, my picture was completely gone, and it took the optic a minute to figure out what it was doing, and by the time I got back on the hog, I couldn't get another shot back on it. All right, let's do just a quick review here, and I'm going to use my hand to cover the illuminator so you can see what's going on. Here are both of the scopes up on the screen. I'm covering the Zulus illuminator. Okay, hand off. Both illuminators are on, and now I am covering the X-Sight illuminator. Wow. Yeah, the illuminator, at least for what I'm doing, the illuminator on the Zulus is far, far superior. And it's tiny, and it's built into the optic. I wish I had a longer range to do this comparison on, but I think that's going to wrap it up for the comparison here at 100 to 150 yards. To wrap things up here, the image quality is a little bit different on the screen than it appears like on the tiny displays in the scopes themselves. But I think that you could see from the video that the image is a little bit smoother looking on the ATN X-Sight, and it's a little grainier appearing on the Zulus, but I think you actually get better usable image on the Zulus. Again, if you were going to use one of them for maybe a little bit nicer looking, more natural looking video shots, maybe you'd want to use the X-Sight, but just for using it for actual shooting, varmint hunting, whatever, the Zulus, it seems to be better. Also, in nighttime performance, everything about the Zulus is better. The image looks way better, it's sharper. The illuminator on the Zulus, being small, built-in, and already aimed from the factory, oh my gosh, this thing is way better. You saw when I covered the illuminator on, when I had both illuminators on and I covered the illuminator on the X-Sight, you couldn't tell any difference. Because the illuminator for the X-Sight is just not that great. Now, as I mentioned, you can get other illuminators for it, but that is an extra cost, and it's built into all of the models of the DNT Zulus. Also, something I just noticed, you might have seen me reach back to fiddle with it, on the Zulus, when you shut off the scope, the IR illuminator shuts off too. I'm pretty sure I just ran my 123 batteries in here all the way down because I accidentally left this on the lowest setting instead of getting it all the way turned off. You've got to turn this illuminator off separately. Yes, that's human error, but again, something I find a little bit better about the Zulus. Also, this thing is less than half the weight of that thing. And because of all of those things, I think the X-Sight is good, and I'm not saying it's not, and it's not because DNT sent this to me. If I were going to choose to pay for one of these two, it would absolutely be the DNT Zulus. This thing is slick. Yes, it's got a few little quirks. The zeroing's not perfect, but it's not perfect on either one. I had to fiddle around with the X-Sight just as much to get a zero as I did with the Zulus. Once you get a zero, it seems to hold. And that's the case on both of them. One thing that I have yet to investigate is a claim by some viewers that if you take this battery out and leave it out for too long, you lose zero. That would be serious if that's the case, especially if you lost zero from the time it takes to charge a battery and put it back in. That's not something I have figured out yet. I'm definitely going to test that when I do the actual full review video of the Zulus. For now, I think that is about the best comparison that I can do between these two optics, and I'm going to leave it at that. For the main purpose of these, which is for use at night, I think the Zulus is better. Anyway, that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Y'all have a good one.